Street Fighter 6 is the absolute biggest fighting game out right now. With record-breaking tournament entrants, a highly active online player base, and constant quality of life updates, Street Fighter 6 is a game that will be played for years to come. But is Street Fighter 6 the right fighting game for you? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Kuzco on the ones and twos, doing it big, never small, and Street Fighter 6 is officially 2 years old. Capcom just got done celebrating their 5 million units sold, as well as their successful launch of Street Fighter 6 on the Switch 2, making this the first mainline Street Fighter game to appear on a home Nintendo console since Street Fighter Alpha 2. 8 characters have been introduced to Street Fighter 6 since launch, with 4 characters on the horizon thanks to Season 3. But that's just scratching the surface of what Street Fighter 6 has evolved into since 2023. So that raises the question, should you play Street Fighter 6 in 2025? Yes and no. And put your pitchforks down, because I'm going to have a good reasoning on why I believe yes and why I believe no. I've been playing Street Fighter 6 since day one, and I've logged in over 1,800 hours on my Steam count alone. I am also a competitive gamer when it comes to Street Fighter 6 and travel quite often for tournaments, so this doesn't include all the time I've spent playing the game on PlayStation 5's offline. If you're completely new to Street Fighter 6, let's do a quick recap of what Street Fighter 6 launched with. Divided up in 3 modes, World Tour, Battle Hub, and Fighting Ground, Street Fighter 6 launched with content packed to the absolute brim, in which I would honestly consider a AAA fighting game. World Tour is Street Fighter 6's campaign mode, where you create a custom character to explore semi-open worlds like Metro City and Naishal. You can train on Street Fighter's iconic characters, learning moves like Ryu's Hadouken or Chun-Li's spinning bird kick to craft a unique fighting style. Level up stats, unlock skills, and battle NPCs. With over 20 hours of content, World Tour gives you something to do in between playing Street Fighter 6's traditional 1v1 game. Battle Hub is an online social environment where players compete and connect. Enter a virtual arcade to challenge other players, and not only Street Fighter's classic 2D gameplay, but also your custom avatar with their tailored attributes. Join 100 player lobbies, spectate fights, or battle at open cabinets. You can also create private rooms with friends, host tournaments, customize your avatar, flex emotes, even play retro Capcom games. With club features and cross-platform support, it is a lively, competitive hub for all skill levels that Capcom knocked out of the park. Fighting Ground is Street Fighter 6's traditional fighting game mode, sporting offline and local multiplayer action, delivering its classic 2D combat. Dive into modes like Arcade with character-specific stories, Versus for head-to-head battles, or training to hone your skills. Tackle Combo Trials for precision practice, or Team Battle for chaotic group fights. With accessible controls like modern and dynamic, plus in-depth tutorials, it is a polished, versatile arena for casual and hardcore fighting game fans alike. Street Fighter 6 launched with a lukewarm roster, being only 18 characters, which is relatively small when you compare it to a game like Tekken 8 that launched with 32 characters, nearly doubling the roster. And the roster wasn't really anything to write home about when it comes to Street Fighter 6. It was the World Warrior characters being the original Street Fighter 2 characters, as well as the 2 Super Turbo characters in the game, Cammy and DJ, 1 Street Fighter 4 character being Juri, and the rest being newcomers, with the exception of Luke being introduced at the very end of Street Fighter 5. 2 years later, and thankfully we went from 18 characters to 26, and with Season 3 releasing over time, we're actually going to have 30 characters by summer of 2026. Out of the 8 characters added, we have Rashid, which is a very mix-up heavy character that has overheads, as well as a really strong level 2 super where he summons a tornado. We have Aki, the poison queen, that does damage over time with her poisonous attacks. Ed, with his good range boxing skills and his quick attacks, he is able to keep people on their toes. We have Akuma, notorious for the raging demon, definitely the most popular character probably of all time when it comes to Street Fighter. We have M. Bison, which has been fine-tuned in Street Fighter 6 to give him a bomb ability, in which he's able to do set play, making the opponent guess and defend for their lives on wake up when he plants a bomb on you. Terry and Mai, which they were actually surprisingly really good newcomers to Street Fighter 6, and they use some of their SNK moves mixed in with Capcom's vision for them. And then we have Elena, being a very unique and latest addition to Street Fighter 6 that incorporates her healing mechanic as well as some of her long range normals. Lastly, there's 4 characters on the horizon with Season 3 that recently got announced with the Kenny Omega trailer, which was an amazing trailer. It has Alex, Ingrid, Sagat, and Crimson Viper. A common complaint that I heard when Street Fighter 6 came out is that sure, it is an amazing game that has a ton of content, but what does the content even mean to me when I can't find a character that I like to play? If you're one of those people, I highly recommend revisiting Street Fighter 6 because there are a lot of unique characters that they introduced into the game, with more coming in the future. And I'm sure you can find a character that might actually suit your playstyle needs, or a character you might just click with personality wise with all the characters that came out since then. On to the gameplay side of things, which is the only component which I may not recommend Street Fighter 6 to some people. I personally love the gameplay of Street Fighter 6, and I feel like Capcom is heading in a really good direction of Season 3, how they fine-tune the gameplay. If you've never played Street Fighter 6 before, I can't recommend enough to give it a try. Even with the gameplay, it does have the traditional Street Fighter feel with the added sprinkle of the drive system, which might be the mechanic that turned off a handful of people when they tried Street Fighter 6 initially. Each Street Fighter game has a mechanic that's unique to that game. You look at Street Fighter 3, there is the parry mechanic, which is also infamous for the amazing comeback that we all know and love. There's Street Fighter 4 that has the focus attack and the ultra meter. Then there's Street Fighter 5, in which it took the 5, the Roman numeral 5 being V, and it introduced the V system with the V trigger, V shift, and what have you. And Street Fighter 6, the system that they went with was the drive system. The drive system includes drive impact, drive parry, overdrive, drive rush, and drive reversal. Drive impact is a big move that absorbs a handful of attacks and able to land a huge striking blow to your opponent. Drive parry, you're able to parry attacks, kind of reminiscent of Street Fighter 3, in which you're able to absorb attacks, and this also gives you some meter. There's overdrive, which are the EX moves of the game. This allows you to enhance your moves abilities. There's drive reversal, which is like a get off me tool. And then there's drive rush, which might be the most controversial one out of them all. Before we hop into drive rush, there's two drive system mechanics that have seen significant changes since Street Fighter 6 launched in 2023, being drive parry and drive reversal. The drive reversal was a very risky move to throw out because it was very punishable on block, being -8. Capcom changed it to -6, meaning that you take less damage if your opponent were to block it. They also added a wake up drive reversal option. Prior to that update, you were only able to do it while you were actually on your feet, but this time you're able to do it on wake up, basically giving an additional wake up option to all characters, and it also helps characters that don't have a traditional wake up, like say for instance wake up EXDP, with characters like Lily. In an early update of Street Fighter 6, Capcom introduced a nerf to perfect parry that scales the drive meter damage you do to your opponent. Perfect parry has always had a damage scaling, so you don't do nearly as much damage in a combo if you was perfect parried as opposed to if you were doing like a regular hit. With the update, you don't take as much drive gauge from your opponent anymore, so that is heavily scaled now. Capcom made a huge change to perfect parry in Season 3, in which now you see it way less than you used to back in Season 1 and Season 2. In Season 1 and Season 2, it was very easy to land a perfect parry to the point that people will land it on accident quite often. As long as you hit the parry button right before a strike hits you, you get the perfect parry, you get the screen freeze, and you're able to punish your opponent about like 95% of the time. Now you have to match the level of your opponent's attack with your parry to be able to get the screen freeze animation. What this means is that if your opponent, for instance, does a crouching light kick, which is historically a low attack, you have to hold down back and hit parry at the same time as soon as the strike hits your opponent. Now, if you fail to do down back plus parry, and say for instance you're not holding down back, you're just at a neutral stance, you just hit the parry button at the proper time that they do the crouch light kick, or if you hold it back and hit parry at the right time, you still get acknowledged for landing a perfect parry, but you don't get the screen freeze. You'll get an audio cue, and you still get the drive gauge meter, you still get the super meter, but you will not get the screen freeze animation. A perfect example here is, say for instance your opponent does a drive impact and you try to perfect parry it. If you do the back perfect parry, you'll get the actual punish and the screen freeze and be able to punish them for trying to do a drive impact on you. But if you mess up and do down back plus parry to get the perfect parry, or neutral parry to try to get the perfect parry, you do get that audio cue, you do get that meter, but you're actually not able to punish it because the screen didn't freeze and you're still stuck in recovery animation. This feature is going to take a little bit of time to get used to, but I will say if you were originally not a fan of perfect parry because it was very easy to do, I highly recommend trying out Street Fighter 6 again, just because the perfect parry isn't as potent as it used to be. Drive Rush is a polarizing mechanic within Street Fighter 6, which can also lead characters to feel a little bit more on the homogenized side. Drive Rush allows characters to essentially run at their opponent while glowing green. As they're glowing green, your original buttons like your light punch, your medium punch, your kicks, they become more powered up versions, giving you more advantage on block or on hit. Street Fighter is a game that is known for its neutral and more so slow, methodical gameplay, which is still present in Street Fighter 6. But it's the added factor of the Drive Rush being a jump scare of people magically running at you and getting advantage on block as well. Having a Mortal Kombat background, with Mortal Kombat X being one of my favorite fighting games of all time, when Street Fighter 6 got announced, I saw a lot of similarities between the two. The block button in Mortal Kombat games made me think of the parry mechanic in Street Fighter 6, in which you're able to just hold the button down and then you're able to block a high-low mix-up. Drive Rush made me think of the run button, allowing you to give jump scares to people. And then a lot of moves in Street Fighter 6 are actually negative on block, which is kind of unheard of in Street Fighter, because in Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 4 that I know of, a lot of buttons you hit or you're like +2 or +3 on block, meaning that it's still your turn, as opposed to Street Fighter 6 there was a lot of negative frames, much like Mortal Kombat, in which Capcom wanted players to use the Drive Rush to get your plus frames. And I know I'm starting to lose some people here as I'm starting to speak in jargon, but these points are very important to talk about for the players that play Street Fighter 6 maybe in 2023 and 2024 but dropped the game due to dissatisfaction with the gameplay. With Season 3, people expected Capcom to do an overhaul of the system mechanics, but that's not what was actually provided to us. Instead, it was just fine-tuning and tweaks across the board, something that I kind of expected, as I didn't believe Capcom would do a whole overhaul of Street Fighter 6. They have a clear vision for the game, and I feel like they want to see through it. So if Drive Rush isn't your thing, I can't recommend Street Fighter 6 coming back to it, because I feel like that's going to be something that's going to be in the game for as long as possible, and it's going to be as potent as long as the game is alive. Throw loops slightly did get adjusted. Throw loops is something that happens whenever you have your opponent in the corner and you grab them and you keep continuing to grab them and grab them and grab them, and they have to either tech the grab or potentially get shimmied, which your opponent walks backwards and then they tech, then they get blown up for into huge damage, and it's just a repeating loop. The defense was pretty difficult in the corner, but they did do a little bit to mitigate some of that within Season 3, which allows players to tech a throw and get a lot of meter back, being drive gauge as well as their super meter as well. And it's not like Capcom is completely neglecting complaints about Drive Rush and throw loops. They are taking small steps to tweak these mechanics. So say for instance, a popular strategy, a popular tactic of Street Fighter 6 is to use a character that has a cancelable crouching medium kick. If they did a crouching medium kick, which is a low, meaning that if a person is walking backwards or just not down backing to block it, they will get clipped into a combo. People would do crouching medium kick into Drive Rush to start their offense. So if it landed, it was profit, you're able to land a combo. If there was blocked, it doesn't necessarily matter, you were still able to continue pressure if you did a jab afterwards, meaning that it was still your turn thanks to the Drive Rush into the jab. This forced people on the defense to have to guess if they're going to go for a throw, if they're going for a strike, if they're going to walk back to basically bait their throw and then take even more damage. In the newest Season 3, it leaves a lot of characters closer to the opponent, making it a little bit more difficult to walk backwards, and then if they go for the throw, you're able to tech it and get more meter back, allowing you to win the resource game. It's bizarre how Capcom tackled this, because there are some characters that can still do this, like Cammy and Ryu I believe, but there are some other characters that cannot do it in time. And then with Elena being the latest character, they didn't really give her a regular throw loop in the corner, which you just walk up and do the throw over and over. With Elena, to get the true throw loop, you have to do a Drive Rush afterwards. Maybe it's like a prototype to see how they want to tackle throw loops in the future, but it looks like they still want throw loops to be within the game. But I will say, even though that mechanic may not be for everyone, I personally don't mind it too much. I will say Street Fighter 6 is a phenomenal package, and you shouldn't let that little mechanic stop you from having fun within the game. Sure, if you're a competitive player, that can be annoying, but no one can deny that Street Fighter 6 is the most content-filled fighting game of all time. We listed earlier in the recap portion of this video all the amazing stuff that Capcom had with Street Fighter 6 day one. Let's talk about all of the quality of life features that they constantly keep adding to the game to just make it even crazier and crazier. These are some of the nice features that were added to Street Fighter 6 up to 2025. I don't have an exact timeline of when these came out, and there's going to be more in the future, and I'm just going to rapid fire some amazing stuff that I personally like that was added. In the main menu of the game, there is now a training mode quick launch, meaning you're able to bypass going through the menus to get started in training mode. Just hitting one button will launch you straight into the mode. World Tour mode does have DLC characters in it, which is kind of a blessing and a curse, because people speculate that that could be the reason why we only get 4 characters a season, because they are taking the time to flesh out these characters for them to be present in the World Tour mode. So for all the World Tour people, definitely look forward to all of the new characters and interactions, amazing quotes that come within the World Tour mode. Battle Hub constantly gets new decorations, and during the time of filming this video, it is decorated with the 2nd anniversary. There was the Siren mode, in which you're able to work together to defeat a boss, being M. Bison or Akuma. It's very interactive, and I'm sure that's something they're going to revisit in the years to come with Street Fighter 6 with different characters. Ranked match mode got new ranks. When the game came out, the absolute highest rank was Master. Shortly after, they added the MR system, which people thought getting Master might have been a little bit too easy for diehards, and it lost retention on some players as they felt like there was nothing left to grind for. With the new ranks, you're able to get High Master, which is 1600 MR to 1699. There was Grandmaster, which is 1700 MR to 1799, and then there is Ultimate Master, which is 1800 MR and above. And then if you're the cream of the crop, there is the Legend rank, which is the top 500 players in the whole world. The new ranked match content does not end there though. They added ranked rewards, in which you're able to level up your character to get new colors that's exclusive to the ranked match phase. They added a search range. One of the main complaints of Street Fighter 6 Online back when it came out is that there was a limited pool of people to play, as the matchmaking was very strict, as it only allowed you to play people within your area. They added a search range mechanic, in which you're able to pick local, you're able to pick more like regional base, and you're able to pick worldwide, basically fleshing out and allowing you to play against players that are further and further away. Granted, this will sacrifice a little bit of the really good netcode, but this does allow you to play players across the world. Replay takeover was added into the game. Street Fighter 6 launched with a really good replay system that allows you to look back at your match as well as other players' matches, and now you're able to hit the pause button while in the replay mode and pick either a player 1 or player 2 character and literally take control of that character to try to see what you can do differently, if you can get any more damage out of something, or just how to punish an attack. They also added the frame meter that is featured in training mode that allows you to see exactly, precisely how advantage a move is on block or hit, and how disadvantaged that attack is as well. They added more personality and customizations. You're able to set the background music for each character with a max of 30 per character. They added in the shop all the music you can get from Street Fighter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Alpha series, and more. You're able to get different announcers from various Capcom games, which I'm a huge fan of. I love Alpha 3, that was my childhood Street Fighter game, and I love the announcer in that game. So when you match up against an opponent in a ranked match, they can hear your preferred announcer from the various Street Fighter games and beyond, like Power Stone and Darkstalkers. It's crazy. You know the amazing loading screens we get when we queue up for like a ranked match or a casual match, and we see our opponent's character and the artwork they chose as well as their background? They added the ability to actually have a background that shows both your opponent's character and your own character, so you can see the amazing artwork that you picked for your specific character. For all my tournament organizers out there, they added a local tournament game setting. This allows you to disable cutscene skipping, mitigate accidental pauses, and much more. A feature that is super sick for all my grinders out there, me included. At the fighting ground versus screen, you're able to set how many games is needed to win the set, and it can go as high as 100 for all my death set people out there. With the inclusion of Costume 3 and very soon to be Costume 4, Capcom added the ability for you to allow what you see when you go into a ranked match or casual match. If you don't like a specific costume, you can go into the settings and set specifically for that character that you don't want to see that costume. I'm looking at you, Blanka-chan. Button release input at character select. People were kind of unfamiliar with this option, but it was actually present in the settings of Street Fighter 6, but you had to be in the main menu, which is very bizarre as you couldn't do at the character select screen. This allowed people to basically have negative edge on their controls, being that a move will come out when you release the button. So it was very inconvenient if you go to tournaments and someone actually likes to play on that. You have to go all the way back out to the main menu to change that setting. Thankfully now you can do it at the character select screen. In season 3, they introduced stick sensitivity, in which you're able to do normal or low, meaning that if it's normal, the moves come out as it usually does in Street Fighter 6. Low is for people that were getting more accidental input errors. This is to help mitigate any like accidental dragon punches you might get or spiral arrow or what have you. Street Fighter 6 added a V-Rival mode within the battle hub, but this allows players to play against AI opponents that was basically trained by all of the players in Street Fighter 6. It ranges from ranks from rookie straight to master, and it collects the data of all the people within that rank to form a CPU for you to fight. This is a good way of practicing, say for instance, if you have like ranked anxiety or you're just not comfortable playing against human opponents. This is a good way to get your feet wet before you hop into an actual match. Street Fighter 6 is an amazing fighting game. I cannot recommend it enough. There is so much content that's just packed to the brim, and Capcom just constantly keeps providing quality of life updates, and these updates are so good. These were features that I didn't even know that I wanted, that now I'm like, yo, how did I play this game without it? Capcom knocked that out the park with Street Fighter 6. And sure, if we're speaking gameplay wise, Street Fighter 6 may not be your thing, I will say the entire package is just unmatched. They truly did set an absolute gold standard in fighting games. It's going to be very difficult for other brands and other fighting game IPs to match what Street Fighter 6 did. If I was able to help in any way in regards to your decision to play Street Fighter 6, please leave a like or subscribe to my channel, as it helps me out tremendously. I upload videos regarding all things fighting games on the regular. And if you're wanting to get better at fighting games, definitely check out this video I have over here where it's 15 years of fighting game knowledge in 15 minutes. Thank you guys so much for spending time with this video today, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.